She asked that it may be better that we sign up for a private sessions instead because he's not doing well in the group class. And you know what? Ego here, too embarrassed. I did not sign up for that class then. But I went on to try to learn more about dogs.
Hi, I'm April Hampton, and I designed my home based dog sitting and daycare business so that I earn well over 6 figures in sales annually while working less than 30 hours a week, giving me the freedom I desired and fulfilling my purpose while doing what I love. And this is the first home based dog sitting business podcast that shows you how to think, act, and be the top dog CEO from the inside out, while applying fundamental principles of the universe to proven business strategies, processes, dog management, and marketing techniques so that you actually create a business that supports your ideal lifestyle. A dog business you love because it is emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially sustainable. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Today, I have a special guest for you named Linda Kwoun. She is the owner of Wow Bow Wow Dog Training and Behavioral, or behavioral consultant, rather. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. So I always like to start out with your story of how you got into dog training and this industry in the first place.
So it's a funny story that many people can probably relate to. I was an adult and I adopted a dog, a puppy, and thinking, oh, I grew up with dogs. I thought I knew what to do, how to train, how to raise the dog. Well, a little bit after he got all his vaccines, his name was Jack, by the way.
Mhm.
I signed up for a group class because, we all do that, right? A group class to teach your dog to sit, walk better on leash, maybe come back to the basics. Well, we arrived and the trainer had, I think it was like 6 of us or so. It wasn't like a huge class. And throughout the whole session, I could not keep Jack's attention on me. He was barking at the other dogs. He was barking at the humans. Oh, it was, who can relate?
Yeah,
Embarrassing,
absolutely.
frustrating. It's like, Jack, what are you doing? And so by the end of the session, I'm surprised she didn't kick us out sooner. She asked that it may be better that we sign up for a private sessions instead because he's not doing well in the group class. And you know what? Ego here, too embarrassed. I did not sign up for that class then. But I went on to try to learn more about dogs on my own. And subsequently, also, I realized dogs sometimes can be very sensitive and sometimes very reactive. And Jack happened to be one of those. He was a mixed breed. I'm not sure what he was, but he definitely had terrier in him. Who has
Okay.
terriers? You know
Yes.
terriers, right?
Oh, yeah,
Quick
we have
to
one that
quick,
showed up today. I totally get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so over time, I learned more about dogs and about training them. But I didn't start this business until, maybe over, I would say at least 5 to 10 years later.
Oh, wow.
Um, Between then, I fostered dogs because when I adopted Jack, I realized there's so many other dogs out there looking for a good home, and many of them may have been relinquished because of behavior issues. And so I foster dogs, rehome dogs, and so on. I was in another line of business beforehand. Just to, I'm not, I don't, I'm an attorney actually,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and I'm licensed still. And But what prompted me, like 10 years later, after working with Jack and then fostering dogs, and when I rehome dogs, people was like, "Oh, can you help train my dog?" And I said, "Well, I don't have, that skills, but I kind of did." And so it kept going through my head. Well, I can help people with their dogs,
Mm,
help people understand their dogs
yeah.
because they're a different species. We got to understand that. People adopt dogs, get dogs with this Disney kind of like mindset,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, fairy tale story. Yes.
Yes, and they don't realize that they have certain needs and, um, well, trusting, bonding, safety, those are like the big premises I work from when I work with humans and their dogs. So,
Oh,
anyway, that's my origin story. And about 10 years later, after that, how old was I? I must have been in my early 50s. I started Wow Bow Wow.
how did that come about though? What gave you
Um,
the idea to just start your own dog training company?
so, starting with dogs, learning about other species as an individual, right?
Yeah.
I became more of an animal advocate.
Okay. Nice.
And so that's what prompted me to look into this different fields, right? And I didn't really necessarily, I'm going to just say this, I didn't necessarily enjoy being a lawyer. But, advocacy is a natural thing for me.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually originally started looking at different organizations to
Mhm.
work for,
Yeah.
different nonprofits, animal advocacy, programs and nonprofits.
Yeah.
But then I ended up coming back to what I felt most comfortable with is dogs.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how did you start up? Did you just start advertising your services, or did you have a couple of people that you were helping already, or
Oh, good question. So, this industry is not regulated,
right?
right? Okay.
Right.
And so, but I feel like to be responsible, I should get some like formal training.
Okay.
So I dipped my toe into signing up and with Petco. They
Okay.
hired me. I went through their program and I did group classes for them for about a
Oh,
year and a half, I think, about a year and a half. And
okay.
so through that, I got hands-on practice, I
Yeah.
got training, and then subsequently, obviously, I've gotten some other training certificates and so on. But
Okay.
that's how I wanted to dip my toe in to see if I really wanted to do this. And then I had to learn the business side of it.
Yes. Oh,
And
another animal.
that's another animal, literally. And
Yes.
we can come back to that in another podcast. But that's how I started just to test out the water to see if I enjoy doing it,
Yeah.
and then learning not just to communicate with the dog, but how to communicate with the humans is what I actually learned
Yes.
also,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Because we're in a service industry, right?
Right.
And we
Mhm.
have to convince the human first to
Yes.
help the animal, the
Absolutely.
dog, right? And
Yes.
so from there, I started, actually, I think I started talking to other people in the industry locally, other dog trainers. I joined a
Okay.
couple of different organizations and groups. And then I just started posting, going to different shelters, posting in coffee shops, uh, starting a Facebook page, all the different ways to get
Yeah.
people to know me. And I
Okay.
got my first client. Um, I think it took me like a couple of months before I got my first client.
Okay.
And then first couple of years, it's hard to start a business, right?
Yeah.
Only by last year and this year am I feeling comfortable with what I'm making.
Okay.
This is my sole income at this point. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I have some real estate and I have some income from that too. But basically, I pay for all my bills with
With
this
this.
business at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what year are you in?
Year on my own. Okay, so I left and started my business 2020. Do you
Oh
remember
my,
what happened 2020? I had
yes.
my cards made up. I had in January, I said, okay, I'm gonna start my business. Well,
Yes.
we got shut down in March.
Yes.
And then I didn't really get started again. So I had like one or two clients at that point, right? And then I had to shut down my business. And then I started up again like that fall. I was out there with masks, gloves, even, going to people's houses, working with them in their yards, meeting them in
Yes.
parks, right?
Yes.
So
Which was a
2020, yeah.
which was a good time then because I don't know about you, but I saw a huge uptick in my business after, people started being able to travel again, basically 2021, because so many people went out and got puppies and rescued dogs during 20.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. But I still was not very well known at that point.
Yeah.
So if I was an established business, I'm sure I would have seen a huge uptick also, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Very fascinating. I feel like we have very similar stories. I've never really shared this on here, but I had a dog. Well, I lived in California. I mentioned that to you before we start recording. And I lived there for 7 years. And I really wanted, one of my main reasons I wanted to move back to Ohio is because I couldn't afford a dog out there for one. And for two, I just, I lived in an apartment with nothing but concrete around. I had nowhere to walk it for grass. And I wanted to go home so I could get a yard and get a dog.
Oh, yes, yes. It is hard. And that's one of the topics and issues and educational piece I try to imbue onto my clients. City life for a dog is hard. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yes, yes. And when I came back, I did rescue one that was older. She was 7, and I worked with the family that had her, and that's a long story, but she ended up being pretty ill for
Mm.
the most part. And I got her to stay alive for 5 years and got her better for a while. But then she passed away. And then I was going to an event in her name 2 months after to go donate money to shelters in her name. And as I did, it was this huge event on for Valentine's Day called My Furry Valentine.
Hmm.
And it's like this big, all the shelters, all the rescues come and bring their animals, and it's this big hoorah. And I was saying, we're not going to get a dog. We're not going to get a dog. And then, of course, a dog walks out as I walk in, and I went, "Who's that?" And I was in love from the moment I laid eyes on him. And long story short, I ended up having to basically nickname him the Tasmanian Devil.
I use that term for my rambunctious dogs, the
Yeah.
teen dogs. Yes, the teen dogs, right? Yes.
Yes. And I went, uh-oh, this is nothing like all the dogs I had growing up, or my last one, who was just an old sweet little girl. And so I signed up for training, but luckily I signed up for one-on-one training. And that's what they did. They taught me, right? They trained me. And I just dove right in like you and just, got all sorts of material, books, videos, you name it, at whatever, Google was just coming out. So I was utilizing that, and I learned a lot more about dogs and communication. I was just fascinated. But then when I started my home boarding and daycare business, I first started looking for other pet sitting companies to work for instead,
Mm.
much like you did, right? You were going
Hmm.
to be a trainer for other companies. So I saw all the parallels there. And isn't it something I kind of half wonder if these dogs came into our lives to redirect us on our path to where we were probably meant to
Exactly, because I felt a very strong pull to move towards this animal
be.
advocacy. And so, yeah, totally. Oh, did you get chills? I got
Oh,
chills.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're listening. They're like, yep, that's exactly what we were doing.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Very good. Well, one of the reasons I absolutely loved to have you on the podcast is so many people are getting into this dog sitting, dog walking businesses because they love dogs, which is great. But, like you and I, when we got our first dogs, or at least my second dog as an adult, we were like, whoa, what have I done? Right. And it could be that way for people who are just getting on Rover or Pet Me or Wag or whatever, and they're like, oh, I think I'm just going to do this because I love dogs. You know, I think they find out pretty quickly that you don't just sit on the couch and cuddle with them all day. And so, what are some things, especially somebody who's walking multiple dogs at once or welcoming dogs into their home for boarding and daycare, and they come from multiple families, multiple training backgrounds, multiple behaviors, multiple energies, multiple breeds. What are some of the common, let's just start with like some of the most obvious things for anybody who's really new in this business. What are some of the most obvious behaviors or, really behaviors that you see that a lot of us might be making a mistake, although we mean well in trying to correct or help them to become more comfortable, less overwhelmed, less stressed, less anxious, or not as snappy with the other dogs? What are some of those things that you would say?
Oh, so one of the, even when I was fostering dogs, right, is introducing the dog into the home without everyone flooding him, all
Yeah,
the other dogs.
yeah.
Um, so it's important to understand dogs have behaviors and they're a function, right? They do it for a reason. And one of the main reasons is to feel safe, stay
Mm,
safe, right?
yes.
So if they come into an unknown place and then um, like you are maybe not very well known to them, hopefully you've met the dog beforehand
Yes.
and right and had an assessment even. I mean, I
Right.
highly recommend that you have an
Yeah.
assessment, right,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
with the dog and the pet parents, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
And
good point. We should point that out for new people.
yeah,
They may have had great dogs growing up that they could just throw right into the dog park and everybody was happy, happy day. But yeah, that's not always the case, right? So,
right, exactly. So, um, secondly, when I meet a dog, I let them come up to me,
mm,
right? Instead of me going over to them. Again, safety. Think of this broad umbrella, safety. They have to feel safe.
mhm.
So even when I'm meeting a new dog as a business person,
Yeah.
some of the people that are listening, I let the dog come up to me to sniff me, and I don't reach out. I don't look at them. And once they finish smelling, they may look at you. You can see them out of the corner of your eye, right? They look
Yeah.
at you and you reach out with your hand gently. And if they move away, okay, body language. If they step back, obvious, right? If they turn their head away, that's not as obvious to some people. Don't
Oh,
touch them,
okay.
okay?
That's
Right?
good.
Does it make sense, right?
Yeah. I
So,
had the head turn away thing. Okay.
yeah, yeah, because when dogs meet other dogs and they may look at each other, but they will look away. If they
Yeah.
do this mad dog look, you know what people are saying, right? That
Right.
means they
There-
may explode to the next
Yes.
stage, right? So
Yes.
you
Quickly.
really want to teach your dog, if they don't know how to do this, is to look away. So
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of cases, like when you meet a dog, they will do these body language things for you. Like I said, looking away, looking down, right? Going to
Uh-huh.
go off and sniff. That's
Yeah.
a self-regulation
Yeah.
activity that they do. They'll sniff.
Mhm.
Lip licking, it's not like, yummy. It's not that kind of licking. It's like this flicking, right?
Yes.
They're worried. They're worried. Okay.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
ears may go back, right? So for some dogs, right? Or they may start panting.
Mhm.
Panting when it's not hot
Yeah.
may mean they're a little anxious, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So those are like maybe some telltale signs that they may not be like interested in meeting you, especially when your hand starts coming out to them, right?
Oh. Mhm.
Right. So
And
so
if you're
that means,
hovering over them, like you're bending over
oh
them.
yes, definitely bending over. Especially smaller dogs, even big dogs. If sometimes you have to reach down, so you're bending over them, right?
Yes.
So yeah, those are all like behaviors. If they're like a worried dog, they may take like um, not well, not well, right?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
go ahead, finish what your thought was there.
Um, Ah, I've had dogs where even during the training, especially because also work with reactive dogs, as we're
Okay.
working with them, they may even after some interaction, right? Some interaction, not necessarily me touching them, even that. Um, Back to like trying to greet the dog when the dog allows it. Sometimes you have to stop, give a couple seconds to see if they come back to you and wanting more. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
like a 5 second rule, as we call it.
Okay.
Okay. The
Yeah.
other idea that I was trying to convey is I've worked with reactive dogs where sometimes they're telling me they're done. They will
Oh.
like turn their back on me,
Oh. Okay.
like not just a head turn, but literally turn their back on me. It's like, okay,
Okay.
I don't want to do this anymore.
And
Okay.
now, do they walk away? I mean,
They
how do
can
you?
walk away. They can walk
Yeah.
away,
If
or
if they're asking for a butt scratch, they're probably rubbing their butt up against you.
oh, yes, okay, okay, yes, yes, okay, good distinction. So when you look at body language, all those little a little, um, the ears, the face, the eyes, even the tail, right?
Yeah.
But you have to look at the whole picture,
Yeah.
right?
Speaking of the tail, so many people I have found think that if their tail's wagging, they think that that means they're happy. Is that what it always means, Linda?
No, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I even had a recently client tell me that because I've been working with his reactive dog, and I video
Hmm.
some of the sessions because
Good.
sometimes I take her to the park to like watch other dogs because she's dog reactive.
Okay.
And right now been taking her to the dog park outside of the dog park, and
Yeah.
she will. Right now we're up against a fence, letting her watch the dogs,
Okay.
and her tail's wagging like
Yeah.
this. And he says, "Oh, she looks happy." No, that's not a happy wag. That's like worried, wary kind of thing. It's
Almost like a
hype.
person pacing.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's a good analogy.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And she is stiff and she's
Yeah.
staring.
Yeah.
So looking at the whole body, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Okay, good. And their ears, you mentioned can be back, but can they, depending on the breed of the dog, they can also just be like, pointed straight up, right? Like stiff ears too, almost.
Yes. So you
Yeah.
have to know your dog. And so you have to learn your dog's body language. We're talking about species, but then your individual dog body
Yeah.
language. Like I had a
But if,
client, oh, sorry, I had a client that told me because I've been trying to teach her dog's body language. And I go, what do you see in your dog's body, ears? Because she's like, I can't see her eyes. Okay. What else do you see in the rest of the
yeah.
dog? She
Yeah.
said the hair in the ears go up.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So she's
absolutely.
noticing what her dog specifically does right before, you know, he reacts,
Yes.
right? So,
And I think an important distinction there is for those of us who do pet sitting from home or dog walking, that we have to start really practicing to learn the difference between every dog's behavior because they all have their own I'm nervous, I'm unsure, I'm anxious, I'm about to snap, signals, wouldn't you say?
yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like we learn the species signals and then
Yeah,
we also learn the individual dog's signals.
I see. Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good distinction. Okay.
Mhm.
So, uh, I was thinking with the dogs that are coming into your home, you're a new dog sitter, what is the best way to really start learning that in a safe way? If you're unsure, if you know what the signals are for each dog, how do you figure that out? Do you figure that out during the assessment, the meet and greet? Do you introduce them on leash? Do you put them on either side of a fence? How would you say is best?
So what I've like told clients who are introducing a new dog to their dog, or like recently someone a family member had moved back into the house and they have a dog too.
Okay.
So the first couple of days, actually the first week, they've had them separated, not seeing each other for a while.
Oh,
You don't have
wow.
to be a week, but because it was
Yeah.
from session to session. So
Okay.
just to get them acclimated and to assess what their dog is doing. Are they more worried because they know there's another dog in the house?
Right.
Are they comfortable?
Right.
Um, what is your dog's normal like routine? Is it changing? Is is do you see them much more agitated? Things like that. Your individual
Okay.
dog, if a new
Yeah.
dog comes in. And
Okay.
then right now, I told her because she's learning body language, also about her dog, but have two gates where maybe you're in a room with two separate doorways, but they're using a hallway
Oh, okay.
and they have a gate like 8 feet apart right now.
Okay.
And they let the dogs see each other and disengage from each other and stay calm. That's what they're
Okay.
doing right now. And they're going to get closer and closer. And the what I want them to look for is that the dog, you may have to do this a couple of times, in a day,
Uh-huh.
and then over a couple of days. And if you see the dog kind of relaxing, just looking at each other, you get closer and closer. And eventually, one gate, right? And they just
Yeah.
kind of look at each other. I don't like using leashes because most of the humans hold the leash too tightly.
Yeah. In fear.
Yes,
Tense, like, oh no, I don't want him to fight.
yes.
I'm gonna pull
So,
hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I rather use gates or fences,
Yeah.
um, and in a safe area, or I, if we have to have leashes on them, I hold the leash of the dog on one side, and hopefully we find a place where the other dog's in a enclosed area. Because sometimes we can't find a place with two fence, two
Yeah.
fences next to each other, or you know what I mean? Where we
Right.
can, yeah.
Now, as a side note there, if you're doing home boarding, if you're listening to this and you're doing home boarding and daycare or one or the other, then I highly recommend you get some what we call here safety zones set up. And those are zones that are gated off, that are fenced off, so that in any situation that we have to emergency separate dogs or introduce two that we're not sure are going to do well together right away, then we have that opportunity to separate them, but have the gate so they can start sniffing and we can start observing their behavior. So
Oh,
that's perfect.
good point. Yeah, good point. And so we get them closer and closer, and then if they start showing, oh, I love when they start showing play bows and
Mhm.
wanting to engage and think that kind of behavior, right?
Yes.
And then that's when I release the final,
Gate.
the gate between the
Yeah.
dogs. And
Okay.
even in your kind of settings, I would introduce them one dog at a time and bring in the calmest, easiest going dogs first,
Yes. Okay,
right?
good.
Yeah.
Good. What I actually do, I don't take a lot of new dogs on now because I have a pretty set client roster. But what I used to do, and this was again back in 2021 when I was really blowing up and growing, and I had all these new, young puppies coming in from the shelters, you name it, and they were just like whoosh, like this was a whole new world for them, right? They'd
Hmm.
never met other dogs because they couldn't, and
Hmm.
um, they had no training and they were just bouncing off the walls. So
Yes.
in that case, instead of bringing out my most timid, quiet dog, I would bring out my most playful, happy, confident dog if I had another playful, happy, confident dog walking in, right? And then I would always say I'm just going to match energy to energy, like to like as much as I could. And then we go
Hmm.
through the rest of the pack. And so
Hmm.
would you say that was a smart method too for that scenario?
For because actually at Petco, we also did puppy playtime. That was
Okay.
something we offered to public.
Yeah.
And I understand what you were doing because you're trying to match energy level and
Yeah.
sometimes size, depending
Yes.
on, but energy level first, and
Yeah.
then, secondarily size and so on. But yes, for young dogs, that may work
Okay.
better. Yeah, I like, that's fine. That's fine. But giving them um opportunities to engage, but then if they start escalating, sometimes you have to intervene,
Yes.
right?
If they
And give them
escalate
a
too
break.
quick. Yeah.
Yes, and then get them, and then release them to start again.
Uh-huh.
And after like 2 or 3 times, then it's like, okay, we're done
Okay.
for now, right?
Okay, so dive deeper on that. Why? Why, if they escalate too quickly on this like play mode or rambunctious mode and they just met, why would you break them up and give them a
Oh,
few?
because it can end up into a fight because
Yeah.
one gets overly excited
Yeah.
and But I don't know if people remember when they brought on puppies. I also teach this in puppy, it's like teaching your dog to learn to self-regulate, right? Because when they get too riled up and bitey, they start grabbing, right?
Yeah.
That's not what you want them to keep practicing. You want them
Yeah.
to play up to a certain level of excitement and then, learn to, because they can naturally do this too. And I watch for this, naturally break and go away for a second, go get some water, and then come back and play. That's what we want them to do, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have to sometimes break them up because they can escalate into a fight,
Yes.
which is
Okay.
what we don't want because I mean, obviously we don't fight with our dog, but they get biting. We go, ow, 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 and we're like, what's wrong with you? But it's not. It's like we have to end sooner before
Yeah.
they get there.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 questions in there you made me think of. One is, what is the proper way? If a dog is meeting another dog off leash without any gates or fence between them, what is the proper way for them? Like, what is the behavior that you see going on
that
that
you
would
want to that you want to see. Okay. So a lot of times they may quickly do nose, but what you want to see is them kind of circling each other,
Yeah.
right? And they may do a butt check. I mean, but
Yeah.
um, they may do a little quick nose touch and then they start circling. And that's
Okay.
normal. And then as they maybe do a butt check, right? And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you see the body relax.
Yes.
Then it's all good.
Which leads me to my next question. What other signs do you see when they relax? Are there any other telltales that can tell you that they've, chilled out?
Telltale. I mean, so for me, I see their body literally going from rigid, and you see their faces also. You can see the relaxation. If you know your dog, you can see them
Yeah.
relax. You know when they're relaxed, but stiffness to literally jelly, just
Yeah.
wiggle body.
What about shaking?
Oh, okay. So that's another calming um, signal that they do.
Okay.
So shaking, not when they're wet, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shaking is a way for them to sigh.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
to expel pent up energy.
It's a breathing. It's a deep breath. Release.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big sigh for them. It's comparable to us sighing, and
Okay.
it's when they do that, and I see that a lot when I have dogs that are reactive dogs and are out and about. You
Yeah.
see them shaking. I said, "Oh, good, good, good," whatever their name is, because
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
want to encourage that because they're building up tension in their body, and so
Yeah.
they're like releasing that tension by shaking it off, literally
Yeah.
shaking it off.
Nice. Nice.
You can teach
Now,
it on cue too.
oh,
Tell your
really?
dog to shake
Oh,
it off.
wow.
Yeah. So
Shake it, shake it. You can play that song. Shake it
yeah.
up. Yeah. That would be a cute video. Okay. So then what about yawning? Do you see that when
Okay.
you're
Yes.
releasing
That's
energy?
another signal
Okay.
that they are stressed.
Oh, that's a
So
signal they're stressed still. They're
yeah.
not releasing stress
Oh,
then.
they are releasing. So
Oh, okay.
they're releasing stress.
Okay, good.
It's
Okay.
all the same line of they are stressed, so they are releasing it in one
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
So remember the smelling, going off and smelling? That's
Yeah.
another way for them to mentally de-stress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and one more question. Do they, oh, I've heard some people say that when you're introducing 2 dogs, one of them is always going to establish dominance. Is that true?
Dominance per se. Okay, so
Or
between two
alpha,
animals.
leader?
Oh, yeah, so I don't so dominance is an idea that's been out there and debunked about 20 years ago.
Mm,
Now,
tell me more.
in natural habitat, they base this on the wolves, right? They base this on the
Yeah.
wolves, right?
Yeah.
What that was originally based on was captivated wolves.
Okay.
In a natural family setting, dog, I mean, sorry, wolf
Wolf.
yeah, pack, right?
Yeah.
It's parents and cubs, right? And
Yeah.
so there is a like an order
Yeah.
to them, but
Or
it's
yeah.
not the way that it's been conveyed now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you see is there a difference, first of all, between dominance and alpha or leader? And
So I'd speak in terms of leadership in the humans within their relationship with their dog, but not in those ideas. It's more in the ideas of building trust
yeah,
so they know that you will keep them safe. So
yeah,
they don't have to take charge and react to that dangerous, scary thing.
right.
Does that make
Okay.
sense? So
Yes.
I look to you and you have us covered. You have,
Yes.
I look to the human and you got this under control.
Oh, which brings up a really good question. So, if you're welcoming a dog into your dog boarding business and you're introducing them one at a time to the other dogs there, how do you how do you convey that to the new dog to let them know that you have it under control, you're going to keep them safe? Are there I mean, maybe there's nothing you can do. I don't know. I'm just off the top of my head. I'm like,
So
"Oh,
because
are there ways we can do that?"
you're building a relationship with each of those dogs anyway,
Mhm.
right? So over time, um, because in the training in working with dogs, you are building um, rules and boundaries with them because
Mhm.
they live under our control. I mean, they have no real rights, legal rights,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they're under our control. We control where they sleep, where they go, what they eat, right?
When
So
when they sleep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we control all of that for them. So when you bring dogs into, this new community that where you're dog sitting, um, it's about um, helping them feel safe in that community. And
Mhm.
so making sure they're with the right kind of dogs, because not
Mhm.
all dogs can be with other dogs. Just put it out there. Just that's
Right.
reality, right?
Yes.
So
True.
when you assess, that's why the assessment is very important,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
even walking dogs, sometimes you can't walk certain dogs with other dogs,
Yeah.
right?
What would
So,
be some signs of, this is definitely not a dog that's good in a social setting like this?
well, I mean, the obvious ones is they are um, uncomfortable looking.
Okay. But
Well,
how
I'm not sure what your question is. Yeah.
but well, I guess, I mean, of course, if they're like when you go to at a meet and greet or an assessment and you bring them in and you introduce them to a couple dogs to see how they would do, if they try
Hmm.
to attack or snarl, show their teeth and stuff, that's probably
Oh,
uh,
yeah. Okay. 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 Yes. Yes.
a
That's
sign.
why you do the assessment.
Yeah.
And their humans should know enough about their dog to tell you these things,
Yeah.
but you do the
But they
assessment
don't always.
to make, yeah,
Yeah.
but always do the assessment to verify what they tell
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay. Um,
They may be also specifically like they may not like big dogs or they may
yeah.
not like certain types of dogs because even communication between dogs, sometimes some breeds, their eyes are covered or they have lots of wrinkles in their faces and they can't communicate to the other dogs
Yeah.
well. And so the
Yeah.
other dog can't read that dog. And so they become worried and don't
Huh?
understand that other
Very
dog.
I never thought about that with the wrinkle face. That explains why my Frenchies are never well received by the other dogs.
Ah,
Interesting enough. Yeah. And I mean, I haven't had a whole lot of Frenchies, but the couple that I've had, they've all been like, leave me alone. I don't trust you. Right.
mm, mm, mm.
It's very interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I had another question there. Oh, yeah. Going back to what are like, can they kind of like try to establish any kind of alpha or like I'm in charge kind of mode with the pack member when they're meeting them? I question what's going on when I introduce two dogs. They sniff, they do the roundabout thing, they go around in circles, they sniff the face a little, they come back, sniff the butt a little, they might sniff each other, they might walk away, come back, sniff each other's,
Yes. Hmm.
pee, whatever. And but then you might see sometimes one of the dogs kind of like just put their head just up over their back of their shoulders, just kind of a little too close for comfort and just kind of stand there all stiff over the shoulder with
Mm,
their head.
mm,
What are
hmm.
they saying then, Linda? What are they trying to tell that other dog?
So, so back to the dominance issue. So between dogs, they can show dominance for certain situations, right?
Oh,
But they're
okay.
not necessarily a dominant dog all the time.
Right. Okay.
So that,
Okay.
I mean, this is a distinction that has to be taught
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. Go
in
ahead.
that relationship, or for example, when one has a toy and the other one comes over and wants a toy, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one releases it and walks away. So in that situation, one dog is being dominant over the other for that situation, but
Yeah.
they're not necessarily a dominant dog.
Right.
Does that make
Okay.
sense? Okay,
Yes,
so it's,
absolutely.
I mean, we can go deep into this, but
Yeah.
that's like the basics.
Yeah. I think that's a really important one to cover because I see that periodically, not all the time. But when I was bringing in more new dogs, I would see that more often where when introducing the two of them, one would sometimes go over and stick their head over top of the other one's, back of their shoulder blades, if you will,
Hmm, hmm,
and just kind of stand there, kind of like, I'm telling you, don't mess around with me. I'm in charge here,
hmm.
or like,
And then what happens after that? What happens after that, though?
well, and that's my question for you is when I saw that happening, I would always come in and break that up. I don't know if
Yes,
it was
that's
what I
fine. Yeah,
do.
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I didn't want the tension to escalate into any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So it may have been something going on at that moment that we didn't see between the two, that
Yeah.
one had to tell the other one,
Yeah.
like, don't mess with me, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
maybe the space, maybe they're, like, I'm not sure what they were
Right. Could be
trying
territory.
to, yeah, territory at that moment, at that place,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
then as you're establishing the human is establishing your relationship with each of the dogs, you keep control,
Yeah.
you break up, just like the puppies, it
Yeah.
can escalate, right?
Yeah.
You control and prevent escalations
Yeah.
by knowing those signs and stopping them before it becomes a big problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and so just like when they meet, if they're doing too much, eye contact face to face, I
Yes.
just stick a hand right between their noses and break it up. And and
Hmm,
and this is after I've already done the meet and greet and I already can trust, like, it's after I've already built trust with both
hmm,
dogs, right?
hmm.
And so I'll just, do that. If I don't feel like I trust them yet and it's a meet,
Yes,
I will
yes.
take a spray bottle with water and I'll just spray it at their feet and that distracts them and they stop
Hmm,
looking at each other,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
So that's probably the better, safer way to do it. Instead of using your hand, I'm
Yeah,
just,
I was going to say, don't put hand
yeah.
between dogs when they're like this at each other.
I'm probably, knock on wood, I've been so lucky for so
Yeah,
long.
you've been lucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Even like what I also teach is like a positive interrupter, by like slapping a hand really loud, or
Uh,
saying pop pop, really loud, or
Something to distract.
yeah, something to break their
Okay.
attention on
Yes.
whatever they're focusing on for reactive dogs, whatever they're focusing on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
and then teaching that behavior over and over again. If
Yeah.
they're staring like 2 seconds or longer, adult dogs. Young dogs, I let them look at things a lot longer because they're like learning, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But adult dogs, 2 seconds staring, the body stiffening, break it, get their
Yeah.
attention. Yeah,
Okay.
move away, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Now, in that situation, for my example of like breaking them up, whether it's, with a noise or a spray bottle or my hand, which I'll stop doing, it am I telling the one who's a little more shy and reserved and submissive that don't worry, I got your back. And
Yes, yeah,
and okay, good. So I'm building
yeah.
that. with them. And then on the other one, am I saying, hey, you don't need to dominate here, I'm in charge? Or am I saying anything to them? Is there any
You're
kind of,
setting rules and boundaries with them.
yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah. Because
okay,
you're establishing that you are controlling the situation
yeah,
and you're
okay,
keeping everyone safe. Okay. And
yes.
for whatever reason, in households, sometimes there's always a dog that's always going, getting that thing first. Their personalities is personalities too,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily, so distinguishing that from, dominance, it's a fine line. It's a fine line. So like I said, we can talk about that later in another
Well, I mean,
podcast. Yeah.
going back to what you were saying before, I might equate that to, I mean, that's just their survival instinct, right? So that's what they do to feel safe. And until I come in and say, hey, this is what we do here, I got your back. You don't have to worry about doing that to feel safe. I got you.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe
That's
that's,
actually a good way to think of it for both, because we talked about that for both of
yeah,
them feeling
right.
safe in this scenario.
Yeah,
Yes.
like, you don't
Good
have to
point.
be all big and bad, yeah. Yeah, or I love when I bring out a dog. I love when I bring out a dog to meet a new dog, and, when I in my earlier days, I thought this meant that they were just playful pups, right? But I've learned over time and experience that that's not always the case, and oh, my camera just went
I saw that.
oh, it's like I gotta stop with the hand motion, I don't know how to fix it, and so I'm gonna back up.
Okay, okay. All right.
So, but I found that what happens sometimes is they come out and they're like, "Woo!" Boo, boo, boo," they're jumping all around the
Oh
dog
yeah.
immediately into play mode, but they're not playing, are they?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. They're overexcited, and
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that's one of the things I teach um with their humans is there you put go say hi to other dogs and humans. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
I figured
What
it
I
out.
teach, yeah, what I teach humans and their dog is go say hi on cue rather than allowing them to go jump at the dog, run up to the dog.
Oh, cool.
So the big picture on that is self-calming. You're not allowed to escalate to that point. You have to calm down and then you can go meet.
Okay. Okay, very good. Do you have any tips on that? Like if someone is experiencing that with a dog who just comes out, punches, flying in playful mode it seems, but not really. How do you get them to calmly go say hi?
Well, it's over time. You have to
Okay.
teach them to de escalate from a 10 to maybe a 7 or a 5. And what I've also taught is, calming games. Some of them are called pattern games by Leslie McDevitt. And it's about getting them to focus on you and do a certain pattern, whether it's like side to side or look at me, look at the ground, look at me, look at the ground, or um, there's different games you can play with them, but basically getting them to come from a 10 to a 7 so they can hear you,
Okay.
because when they're at that 10, even for reactive dogs, whether they're overly excited puppy or reactive, you got to get them to hear you
Right.
before you can do anything with them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so getting them to that next level down and then teaching the cue that the reward comes when they actually calm. Then you can go say hi.
Okay. Oh,
But you
okay.
got to teach them to calm down. But teaching them to calm down, you teach them beforehand as well as in the situation. But
Yeah.
you train for the situation, not
Yeah.
in the situation.
Yes. Okay. And so
Okay.
if someone doesn't have time to train a dog like that because they're brand new there, then
They
maybe
shouldn't go meet up other dogs at that point.
oh,
They
okay.
shouldn't allow their dogs and meet dogs because they're going to be practicing that behavior every single time they see another dog.
If I have the other dog that they're coming out to meet in the safety zone behind a fence, behind a
Okay.
gate,
Okay.
um, and I let them come out and sniff them through the gate, and they're all wiggly and wild and crazy and sniffing back and forth, right? but I don't release that other dog out of the gate until they have calmed down. Is that the reward?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay, that would be the reward there. Okay.
yeah. The reward
Okay.
is being able to meet the dog, but
Yeah.
you're not, you can't. But you have to show them how to calm down. And that's what I was,
Oh, I
you got to
see.
show them how to calm down because it may
Yeah.
take a while for them to calm down.
Yeah, it does sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what about let's switch over to more of a dog walker, right? I walk dogs. That's part of what we do here for
Yeah.
our service. It's included in the service for multiple reasons, for the
Right.
dogs, for the humans, for the safety, all that. But when you're doing a dog walking business and maybe you're going to a meet and greet, would it be a good idea if you're walking multiple dogs at once anyway? Would it be a good idea to bring a dog along to the meet and greet and have them meet by having the owner come out and walking, side by side on leashes where they can't touch each other, they're not close enough to touch, and they just walk together to start out, to start maybe get in front and back of each other, back and forth.
Yes, those are great ways to see how they do with other
Okay.
dogs and get closer and closer and
Okay,
see if
good.
they can walk with the other dogs. But um, well, I see I work with reactive dogs, so I use that also to teach them other dogs are safe, right?
Uh, yeah.
So that those are like the later stages of following a dog, longer
Yeah.
exposure to a dog. In the beginning, we're doing, see that dog? There's a dog over there from way far away, right? Depending on how far we need to be. And eventually, like following a dog for a while, and it's the same dog. So, or
Uh,
trying to find another dog to walk parallel with. So, yeah, that's good ways to get them comfortable and then get closer and closer, right?
yeah. Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
walk. Yeah.
And I've even found here with the dog boarding business, if I have two dogs that are, you can tell from their body language that, either one or both are still unsure of each other in
Yes.
particular. And they're just always kind of tensing up and they're always kind of keeping an eye on that one, then if I have the resources, if I have enough walkers, I will send them out together where they can do just that, where they're walking parallel. And then I tell them,
Hmm.
get in front, get behind. Now, is that beyond just getting them comfortable and feeling safe with each other and not feeling like the other dog's a threat? Is that also bonding, do you know? Or can it
I
eventually?
would assume there's some bonding there. Um, I mean, I don't see why not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the the thing about um dogs, after a certain point, you have to realize whether or not they are compatible walkers. Because
Yeah.
not all dogs like all other dogs.
Right. Yeah.
So it may be the wrong group of dogs that you're walking
Okay.
the dog with,
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
right? So you
Yeah.
have to make that assessment. You know, some dogs get along with other dogs quickly, some dogs take a little bit of time, right?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
they may never be the right kind of dogs to be together.
The right fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
point.
Just be aware of that.
Okay. Okay. These are all great. I love just diving into the different scenarios that I come across in my business. Hopefully, this helps everyone who's listening because I'm sure they come across all sorts of scenarios. But let's hop over real quick because I know we're starting to get kind of close to the time here. So
Oh
let's
yeah, we are. Okay.
forever. Let's hop over to the myths. Are there some common myths that people have when it comes to, just kind of filling in the blank as to why a dog is doing, or some things that you'll hear people that when you're working with customers, that they say, oh, well, my dog does this because of that, because they're this or whatever. Are there some common things that you hear that, you could kind of correct that right here once and for all?
So I would like to educate on the humans that in some cases, um, when I hear this one term all the time, is like, my dog is stubborn. They don't want to
Oh,
do that,
yes.
right?
Very common.
And
Yes.
yeah, very common. And so I explain to them that It may not be stubbornness per se. It may be that the dog doesn't quite understand what you're asking them to do,
Ah, right.
okay? Because just because they know how to sit in the house does not mean they know how to sit, in the cafe or at your friend's house.
Excuse
Oh,
me.
bless you, bless you.
Yeah.
um, or it could mean that they are kind of worried about what's going on around them, so they're distracted and going into a sit or a down, maybe a precarious position where they don't feel safe.
Right. Vulnerable. Okay.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they're not.
Okay.
Or they're like too overwhelmed
Yeah.
in the situation, so they can't hear you. Because even though they're like standing there and you think they can hear me, they may be like in their head going a million miles per hour.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
you have to help them calm down in their head so they can hear you,
Yeah. That's like
right?
when you're trying to talk to somebody and they're like in their phone scrolling and you can't get their attention. Although they should be able to hear you. Right.
Yes, yes,
Dogs are like our brains are overly excited from everything on the screen and the dog
yes. Their
excited.
brain could be overly excited or scared,
Yeah.
so they can't hear you literally.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, let me go back to this one real quick. What do you do for a dog that you see is scared, that's never been in around other dogs? It's their first time they've been around other dogs. I've had dogs, they go off in the corner and tremble and they start
Yes,
drooling
yes,
profusely and panting.
yes, yes.
You build the trust with them, is that it? Or are there other
And small exposures. I mean, when they're like that, that is extreme where,
Yeah.
that maybe that's not the best place for them to be
Yeah.
introduced to a dog. And
Yeah.
so that kind of leads me to this concept of socialization,
Uh-huh.
socializing your
Yeah.
dog to not just other dogs and people, but our world. Because recently, again, I've got a new client who said, oh, the vet told them not to take the dog out until they had their final vaccine.
Right.
And I know why they're doing that because
Right.
parvo and, you can kill your dog, right?
Right.
But
Right.
but you are introducing your dog to our world, and it's not going to be most likely just in your house. So you can carry them, right? And even older dogs, like you said, the dogs that are trembling, letting them watch dogs from a distance that they can tolerate without
Mhm.
trembling, right? Watch
No.
dogs, they can air sniff, you know what I mean? They can hear them
Yeah.
introducing not just dogs, but just other things in the world to
Yeah.
them in that way, even when
Okay.
they're before vaccination. And on another note, I tell people don't let people pet your dog. Just
Yeah.
their hands. I don't know where their hands have been.
Right, right.
But does
Okay.
that help? Like
Yeah.
basically they should have pulled back and started where,
Slower. Yeah. So
yeah,
maybe like the
slower.
safety zone, that's where the safety zones might come into play that are really good for a home boarding business is you put those dogs in the safety zone behind the gate and then they can see, for a while they can see all the activity and just
Yes.
until they self-regulate a little bit
Yeah,
more and come on down.
exactly. And for people in your line of business, you know, giving your clients this kind of information when they're getting new puppies, just to start teaching them how to get their dogs acclimated to our world. Just showing
Yeah.
them, teaching them how to do that.
Right.
It's not about meeting other dogs. It's not like about meeting other dogs. It's about
Yeah.
seeing, hearing,
Experiencing.
experiencing from a
Yeah.
distance is fine. Just give
Yeah.
them that minimal at least experience. Okay?
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Yeah. And then a lot of times if they're still really anxious and they're with me, I will send them out on a walk right away. So that with like real easy calm dogs or something. And then that way they can one get to know those other dogs in a safe environment, but also secondly, just kind of work off some of that anxious energy.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to come back and be a little bit, is that good or is that just my perception?
So calming games, calming tools, calming um, like snuffle mats. Yeah, walking them is fine. That's fine. But other things you can give them in that area is
Yeah, good.
licky mats, snuffle mats,
Oh, good.
um, chewing,
Yeah,
chewing stuff.
a
It kind
rope
of
or
helps them regulate better.
yeah, like a puzzle, like a Kong with treats if they'll even touch it. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're overwhelmed, then so again, when training, when the dog usually takes treats and won't take treats, that means they're overwhelmed. That's a
Yeah.
big sign, humans, to move away. You are too close to that trigger. You're
Okay.
too much in this environment that they're like worried about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or anxious about, or
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah.
Any of those emotions, right?
Right.
But
Right.
right, but letting them go out of that facility where they may be worried is a good option. Yeah. So
Yeah.
taking them out for a walk, they may be physically letting their energy out. Do you allow the dogs to stop and smell too? And you do pack walks? I see that they don't necessarily around here.
What I train everyone to do and I do myself is if it's a dog that's of course older or something, then yeah, we just take our time. Um, if it's a newer dog, we'll let them stop and sniff more often because we want them to get more acclimated and use their sniffer more. But on regular basis, we try to walk them in a way that they can't pull us. Like we don't have sidewalks here, so we just walk them down the center of the street, and we don't let them pull us to every mailbox. It's pretty much every corner, right? Which is plenty enough. Corners, unless they look like they have to go number two, then we try to keep them in the street. Or if a car's coming, we'll get to the corner, let everybody stop, sniff, mark things, what have you, take a water break.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So sometimes I teach my clients if they prefer that they keep the dog walking, is to give them opportunity to stop and smell and give them the cue, go smell at that point. So you do it at the corners. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So the sniffing is calming that dog also, just to let you know.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would always tell new meet and greet parents, the humans, I would tell them that when they're sniffing, they can't they're in curiosity mode and they can't be in fear as and curiosity at the same time. And that's just kind of my rhetoric. I don't know, if that is technically what's going on, but it just, in my observance, that's what I've seen. And so when I get them
Hmm.
here, I get
Hmm.
them sniffing out in the yard. I'll tell the parents, come out in the yard. So they come out in the yard and they're
Hmm.
going to automatically start sniffing because they smell all the dogs that have been here. And
Hmm.
that's going to help them not, help them get out of their fear up here. And so they're not sitting in their head starting to like, what's going on?
Spin
Where?
out of control, spin out of
Yeah.
control, right? Yeah. Yeah. Go in
Yeah.
that dark, go spin into that dark mode, right? That's what I
Yeah.
say. It's like we want to pull them back out of it, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So sniffing on the walk is really good for that. That's a good point. So that what you're making me think is that if I have a dog that is sometimes that they're scared to walk with the new walkers because they haven't built that trust up yet, right?
Exactly.
And I think you just made me realize what I need to tell them to do is let them sniff more.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of
Absolutely.
corner. Let go slower with that one. Let them sniff more until they trust you and then go on. Yeah, that's a good point. I
Hmm.
love that.
Hmm.
Great,
Hmm.
great.
Perfect.
Do you have any other tips? I know it's probably about time we head out of here so that I don't keep you up stranded with me all day. But are there any other tips that you would point out that are just like you see it all the time and it's a common
Oh,
any
okay. Anything, I'm just gonna do a big picture thing. Okay.
okay.
So
Yeah,
your dogs are different species. So please learn who your dog is.
yeah,
Okay. So learn and then individually who their dog is, because training your dog is about teaching them to live in our world,
yeah,
right? Where they go, eliminate, right? they walk, how to walk without pulling us, because that's not their natural pace. That's not a natural walk for them. So in
Okay.
city life, teaching them to walk with us is another story. Okay. but but it's like the dog has certain needs besides the food and rest place and elimination place. And so to know what your dog enjoys doing, it may be like a lot of sniffing, a lot of chewing, some digging, and giving them those opportunities because they are a living sentient being.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah, beautiful. And while you're saying that, you made me realize like one of the reasons we're probably so successful here is that myself and my team, I've trained them to figure out what it is each dog loves to do and engage in
Exactly.
that way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
But the humans don't always know that. When I ask them
right,
that question, they have a blank look on their face sometimes. Not
right.
all of them. Some of them really know their dog well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
some of them, they have no idea.
yeah.
And they
And
did, obviously, they didn't provide their dog any of those
yeah,
opportunities.
figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and we get the whole gamut here and pet sitting and dog walking businesses too, as I'm sure you do, right?
And I'm going to add this. If you give them opportunities to enjoy behaviors they like as a natural, as a natural behaviors that they enjoy, some of the behaviors that they're like running into may actually extinguish.
Oh. Oh yeah, maybe that's why it's been partly so successful for the dogs that I've helped socialize. Very good. Yeah, because that takes me back to I used to be a life coach, and one of the main things that I'd always teach people when they're, unhappy in their life and depressed is to figure out what it is that you love to do naturally that lights you up and do it. And oftentimes it's things we haven't done since we were, 10-year-olds, right? But
Hmm.
but like revisit that, pick that guitar back up, whatever it is, revisit it because you're right. When you do that, it dissipates all of the other depression or, just it kind of trumps it all, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
That-
helps in many, many different ways that you won't realize until you start doing it. Then you say, "Oh, he stopped doing this," or you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, this has been so wonderful. Thank you, Linda. I think
Oh, I
this,
love this. This was fun. This was
yes, there's
fun.
a lot of great tips. And yeah, we could go on and on for another podcast because there's so many behaviors you see and scenarios you come across in this business that I could just keep drilling you forever. So,
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. And so what I wanted to share with you at the end
yeah.
is that, I do offer free like workshops to help people learn a little bit more about their dog, especially because one of the issues that a lot of people have is they have a barky dog,
Yes.
excessively barky dog.
Yeah.
Not just barking, because barking is a natural like, dog behavior, but
Right.
excessively barking dog. And
Yes.
so, especially in city life, you said you live in an apartment,
I used
early
to. Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So, and even at a house, I have neighbors, and
Well,
if I had a neighbor whose dog barked the whole day, I'd be, oh my gosh, what's wrong over there, right?
right. Right.
Right. I have a workshop that I do every other week right now,
Wonderful.
on stopping excessive barking. So I wanted
That's
to share that
perfect.
with you
Yeah,
and
that's
let your people
perfect.
know to come. Even, you don't have to be a, dog. Some of you may not be dog owners, but you have a business
Yeah.
dealing with dogs.
That's perfect for those who do what I do, who do boarding and daycare from home, because chances are you have neighbors and you want to make sure that your neighbors don't complain and call the cops on you and that you get so many violations that you get shut down, right? So that's perfect. So we'll get the link from you and we'll put that in the description for anybody who's interested in her excessive barking free workshop, I think you said,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah, it's free right now.
nice.
So,
Okay.
in a couple of months, I will start charging a
Oh,
nominal fee. It's not going to be like anything exorbitant, but
okay.
right now it's free because I
That's
think, because I get so many questions about excessive
Yeah.
barking. Yeah,
Yes.
that gives me
I
the
think I
question.
might have to sign up for it myself.
Oh, okay.
I've I've tried multiple different things to help with the excessive barkers here, but it's a challenge sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
It's definitely a challenge on occasion.
Yes,
I
it
found
is.
one method that works the best, but I still think that we could do better. So I'll have to look into that.
We're always learning, right? And that's what
Yes.
we found out because both of us came into this probably later in life, sounds like, and because we were drawn into this,
Yeah.
we're advocates, we're supporters, we're nurturers, right? And we
Yeah.
want to help the species
Yeah.
have a better life with the humans and help the humans understand better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And there's always going to be another dog to come in just when you think you know it all, to come in and
Oh,
remind you that you don't.
no, you don't. You don't. And it's always problem solving. We're always
Oh,
problem solving, right?
absolutely. In your
Yeah.
business and with the dogs and the
Yes,
community.
yes, yes. In the business too.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you, Linda. We'll go ahead and put the link there in the notes. Is there anywhere in particular that people could visit you to get in contact besides
Oh,
for your
yeah. So
link?
I have a website. They can
Okay,
reach me on wowbowwowoc.com.
.com. Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make sure
Yeah.
that's in the description as well. So,
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah.
And you know what? I really enjoyed coming on here and meeting you. I'm glad you reached out to us.